whole world is underselling us. You know it as well as I do, right? I can't think of anything better. The fact that they aren't talking about our team with the depth that we have at every position, I've been saying it to every that I've spoken to in the media, right? In terms of our goalies, our back end close defensemen, our long stick middies, our short stick middies, our face-off guy, our midfields, and our attack. We got the best players at each respective spot.
Better run.
Saying what we did. We set the tone. They got to fall in our horn. You guys understand that? And that comes down to you handling your role and embracing it regardless of what it is. We don't give a who plays. This is about winning, and that's it. On three. 1, 2, 3. Ah!
Let me just unmute you before you have all your technical issues, and we're back. We're gonna have some technical issues because I just tried something different. So if I can't hear you, Matt, I'm just gonna ramble on for an hour, and we're gonna be good to go.
Test, check 1 2 1 2.
As always, we're back. Kind of different schedule. I think Matt and I have kind of talked. I think we're gonna do Mondays, right? Is that kind of?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the hope.
This kind of on a whim, I would say. Monday was a blur for me. I'll just phrase it that way for my work schedule. So this day kind of worked out better, and we're going to go off Matt's schedule because he's the more important person. So anytime Matt tells me to go live, I just say, okay, what time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm going to try something a little different though to start, Matt. I want to promote your socials and my socials. That way, if there's people on the YouTube spaces that don't know where to find everything, and same on Twitter, all that stuff, I tag you on my personal account. Yeah. But if you want to just your Twitter handle, all that fun stuff, and you're not going to remember, which is my favorite part.
I think both of them are just at Matt Shaler, MATTSHALER. I think they're both the same.
Okay.
So
I have to look up mine. No pressure on me.
Isn't yours mine is very 7?
Yeah. And then, as always, on the Twitter at SULaxPod. Just for the people that don't know, I'm going to start interacting more on the SULaxPod account when it comes to lacrosse stuff, and kind of shy away from separate the personal stuff from the lacrosse stuff.
From the business from pleasure.
Yeah, we'll just phrase it that way. Because there are people who have reached out to me on that account. So you could still reach out to me. I'm not even saying it that way, but like I was given some advice to interact more on the lacrosse account. I'll just phrase it that way. So
yeah. To build the brand.
As always, Matt's the star. But if any sponsors want to reach out, Matt will have
TLN. I'm rocking the shirt today. TLN.
See?
Holler at your boys. We're ready for a sponsorship.
If anybody wants to sponsor Matt, go right ahead. Not going to stop you. Go right ahead. You can do it. Let's get down to the more serious stuff, though, because we can joke about this. We did our little jokes before. Matt was ripping on me a little bit for my work schedule, all that fun stuff. Let's talk Duke first, and then we'll get into Carolina. First takeaway from Duke for you is
turnovers.
Yep.
Our sloppiest game of the year.
Yep.
We had 18 turnovers.
Yeah.
I think you ask anybody on that team, they'll tell you that was the biggest reason why we lost.
Yep.
Because that resulted in 2 scoreless quarters. Both those quarters, we had a total of combined 13 shots, 4 on cage. And when that happens, it's hard to make a comeback at all. And they made a relatively valiant effort in the fourth quarter, but 18 turnovers isn't going to get it done. And Gary said it in the post game, so.
I just want to point out Cam, who we invited, I'm gonna shout. He knows, Matt. We kind of joked about this. I don't care. I'll call it Cam. He knows I'm joking with this. Cam's perfect tweet was, "You're not watching a Syracuse game if they're not down 3-0 or down some number to start the game. For some reason, whatever it is, they can't come out on fire."
Which is funny because the first 5 games of the season, it was the opposite, where they came out on fire and then they had a slow third quarter.
And now you look at them and you just said the complete opposite. You go into halftime, you're down, and you're like, okay, they can do this. They're a second half team. They're Jimmy has a okay game. Like the midfield kind of steps up. Like, I mean, the narrative that people are gonna love to use, and you're gonna hate this, but I'm gonna fuel your fire with this, is the where was Joey? That's what I heard from everybody on the forums. Where was Joey? Where's Joey? Why doesn't Joey have 15 points? Why doesn't Joey take over this game? I think people need to realize every team puts their best defender on Joey, and teams are starting to realize that you don't slide off of him.
Well, and if you look at all of our offensive players, Joey was the best on Saturday.
Yeah.
He did step up. He had 5 friggin' points.
I know, but you and I both know that's not good enough for half the people. That's the problem.
Which is the dumbest thing ever. Like the people who played the best on the team last week, Joey, Riley Figueres did a great job in McAdory. Jimmy McCool had a great game, and Johnny did good too. Like he went 50%. Like he won the matchup. Were some of them not great timing of when he lost them? Sure, but he won it. So, like those 4 players were our 4 best players on the field. And I think we also need to recognize that team was also not at 100%. Hiltz is banged up. Leo was not at 100%. Finn is just coming back, so he's kind of getting his sea legs underneath him. So you saw particularly Hiltz and Leo, them not being able to dodge as hard or move as quickly or shoot as hard or whatever. Like you could even just tell with just the way Hiltz was throwing the ball, like he was off. Like, so, I mean, arguably our biggest threat at midfield and then our second biggest threat on the team overall aren't at 100%. That's going to affect our offense. The other thing too is Peyton had his, I'm a freshman game.
Yeah. Well, we knew it though. Like we realistically, I think people need to realize that too. Like there was going to be a point where this was going to happen for him. It wasn't just going to be 4 goals every game.
Well, it's better for it to happen now than 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Right. So get that out now. Young gun.
The other funny thing that I heard, and we can kind of dive back into the game stuff. I get a phone call from a friend after every game on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Now normally he calls my phone at noon during my workday. Not a big deal. I talk to him about lacrosse. He's going to listen to this a year from now and then realize who I'm talking about. I just want to point that out, and he'll know exactly what I mean by this. He called me at 8:30 in the morning on Monday and goes, "Are they still in the tournament?" I had to talk him off the ledge.
Oh my God.
and I love him. Trust me, he goes to a lot of games. So I'm not even saying this in a bad way. But he represents 90% of Syracuse fans. I hate to say it that way. You and I represent the 10% that's quiet. We're not, you know what I mean? Like we're quiet enough, but we're out there talking the positives. I spin the negatives. Matt hates when I talk about the negatives. He loves all positivity, but like you and I are at least realists. I'll say it that way. Like, if they should have beaten Duke. I think we all need to realize.
Well, and we talked about it last week, right? Duke's backs were up against the wall. They had to win that game. If they didn't, they're not making the tournament.
Right.
That flat out. And so they came with a little bit more fire than we did. We came a little bit more lax and sloppy, and it bit us in the ass, right? Like, so hopefully that was a good lesson. And there's now a lot on the line for this Saturday, which we'll get to that, in a little bit. But like, like it is what it is. The best they can do is learn from it, get better for this week. Like,
and the other theme that I saw is you look at right? We talked about Cornell, and it's shut down CJ Curse, but limit everybody else if you can.
Yeah.
It's the same theme again. You shut down McAdory, which is great. Not shut down, but you know what I mean. Like you hold his points to what you want him to be. I want to double check this before I say this, but I think Maliver. I'm not gonna
Maliver.
Yeah. 5 goals. There's your difference. Right there for people. Like that's the second defender that you need.
Yep. And Dwan, the past 2 weeks, Dwan hasn't been as strong as he usually is too. So he might be banged up too, because there was the one game where the guy diving kind of fell into his leg. So maybe he's just not 100% too. Like that's the thing is like, as fans, we don't get the full picture behind the curtain, right? So like you have to like be willing to like, okay, maybe there's other stuff going on here too. Cause like, let's be honest, that this past Saturday was out of characteristic for this team, particularly when it came to the turnovers. Like we were and still are leading the country in turnovers per game for teams, even after this terrible week last week.
That's what's crazy. Like when you think about that, because like people want to act like this happens every game.
It doesn't.
Listen,
it just doesn't.
The turnovers aren't this high. I got news for people. Every team turns the ball over 10 times a game. I just want to tell people this. Like it's not like,
well, especially now in the age with like the shot clock and stuff. Like a couple times a game you get shut out in your shot clock. That's a turnover. Like it's not to a certain person. It's just a team turnover, but it's still a turnover. Like so it's just
It's the fans annoy me. We talk too much about the fans, to be honest, because I give them too much publicity.
Yeah,
I'll say it that way. You and I have kind of talked about it behind the scenes, but I give them too much publicity. The quiet majority are the ones that I love because they're the realists. Problem is, like I said in the title, back to the drawing board, because that's what I saw. I saw a lot of this team doesn't make the NCAA tournament. I saw a lot of this team just lost their right to host. I have news for people. If you think that, if they beat Carolina, they're locked into host.
Yep, for sure.
Like, do I think they're a lock right now? No. I'll say it that way, to host.
No, right now they don't host. They're going to they're going to go to like a low. They're going to be the matchup for like the 7 or 8 team. As of right now. Like and the funny thing is, so even though we lost with Notre Dame beating North Carolina, and then Towson won, and that bumped them back into the top 20, like those two things made it so that our RPI didn't change at all, because even though we lost, we had other things that helped us, because then Notre Dame went back to being a top 5 win. So
I mean, we talked about it. Kind of the teams like Hopkins. So Hopkins is a great example on the Syracuse schedule. Everybody thought that was a great win, right? Now Hopkins has failed.
Yep.
Towson's kind of bouncing back a little bit, which helps.
Yep. Well, that's the thing is
Towson's
going to probably win their conference. Jacksonville's probably going to win their conference. Like, so it's some of that stuff's coming back around to help us. And honestly, like Hopkins could surprise everybody and make a run in the Big Ten. Like I know they went 0-5 in the regular season, but like they were toe for toe with Maryland until the very end of that game last week. I watched most of it. I wanted to see if Hopkins could pull it off.
I should phrase it this way. I don't want to downplay the Hopkins game, but I think the expectation was they would be better. That's the way that I'll phrase it for people.
Everybody expected them to be better. The Big Ten is almost like, other than Maryland, like it's like flip-flopped on its head, because no one expected Ohio State to do anything. Rutgers beat frickin' Maryland. Like
Michigan also. Michigan's beating people that
like so they're just like the ACC in terms of like anybody can beat anybody on any given week. Right. So it's just I don't know. So
I think the concern for people in the general lacrosse world, at least from the people I talk to, is the bid stealers. Yeah. If Harvard, you know what? Just as an example, like Harvard's not a good example, because they're probably I don't want to say they're in, right? They're probably close.
I mean, all the projections right now say that they're in.
Right. So like if Harvard, I'm trying to think of a way to say it. let's say Duke had an automatic, ICC had an automatic bid. That's the example that I'll take Michigan. We'll take Michigan. Michigan's a decent one, right? If Maryland somehow doesn't win the Big Ten, the discussion is going to change dramatically. I will tell people that, because like if somebody gets the Big Ten bid, somebody gets the Ivy, you know what I mean? Like we've talked about this behind the scenes, but we haven't talked about it. That we're going to do that when the NCAA tournament comes around with the bid stealers and who gets left out. I got news for people. Somebody that should be in gets left out.
Yeah.
And somebody that gets, it's just like the NCAA tournament for basketball. Somebody that gets in shouldn't be in. Yeah. Somebody that gets left out should be flip-flop. Like we can play this game all day.
So I pulled it up on Inside Lacrosse. So Terry Foy's bracketology that he came out with this week, as of right now, has us going to Ohio State in the first round, which is a brutal matchup.
Yeah.
They're a team that matches up well against us, and I'm not feeling good about that.
Yeah.
With a potential matchup against Cornell in the quarterfinal. So we really want to try to get this win Saturday.
Yeah, and they also lock up number 1 seed in the ACC tournament if they win Saturday.
Yep.
The Duke stuff, the major takeaway, to go back to that, because I know we just went on a whole thing about that.
Mm-hmm.
The one positive I saw from people is they go, I'm not as negative as I thought I'd be. And I was like, where has this been all year?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I think people, let's say it this way, some people expected Syracuse to lose. Like, so it's not as big of a letdown. Like,
yeah.
And I haven't reached out to those people. This is just a guess on my part, on your part, the same thing. But you knew there was going to be a letdown at some point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this was that week. Let's just phrase it that way.
Well, if you look at our other 3 losses, right? Like, so we lost to Maryland, who's top 2 team in the country. We lost to Cornell, top team in the country. We lost a close game to a good Harvard team.
Yep.
So this was the one true, like, I don't want to say bad loss, but like, like at least the Harvard loss was a 1-goal game, like. Yeah, and we were fighting till the very end. Where this one we just got outbeat and outplayed and didn't play good.
I think the thing about Harvard too is they're showing out the rest of the year, right? So it's not like they beat Syracuse and then they lose every other game. They played Cornell really well for a while, and they had. And if Cornell doesn't have CJ Kurse, let's just be fair. If we're being honest, that game might go a little differently for a lot of Cornell games this year. That's how I'll phrase it. And I'm not. CJ Kurse is above and beyond the best player right now in the NCAAs. Everybody knows that. If you disagree, I'd love for you to message me and tell me who you think is better. And that's as a Syracuse fan, because he is above and beyond the best player right now.
The fact that he still has the Ivy League turn. Oh, do they have one more game too? I think they're done.
I think they. Yeah. I'm gonna pull this up. Like, you rant for 2 seconds. You know what, man? I'm gonna make you rant.
I watched a video from Clark on Instagram. He was on a podcast, and so even if Cornell makes it and wins the Ivy League and then gets to the national championship game, CJ Kurse will still have less games played than everybody else in the top 10 in terms of career goals.
I got news for you. He's gonna break it next year or next week. They're playing Dartmouth, so
he's gonna. He was gonna break it regardless, but like, the crazy thing is like a lot of the talk has been, well, they get extra years, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And like, he's doing it in so many less games because his freshman year, they made the tournament.
Yeah.
They lost in the quarterfinals.
The COVID year kind of got him.
And then I think it was last year, they didn't either a sophomore or a junior, they didn't even make the tournament because it was last year because they lost in the first round of the Ivy. So they didn't even make the tournament last year. So like, the fact that he's doing what he's doing with the even less games is even more insane. Like, so if they, including this game this Saturday, and then 2 games, because I think top 4 make it for Ivy League, 2 games in the Ivy League tournament, and then 4, was it 1, 2, 3, four games in the NCAA tournament,
which-
he'll still be less total games than everybody else in the top 10.
which is
And be-
crazy.
Yep.
Because like it just shows you how much the game has progressed, and we talked about it with Beardsley, we talked about it with other people. Like,
Yeah.
that's a good example, right? Because he's shattering a record. You look at somebody like Joey, like we talk about Joey, like the Casey Powell points. How
Yep.
many times can you say somebody would have that many points?
Yep.
And now it's just consistent. CJ Kirst has 10 goals in a game.
On 11 shots.
And I know, I was just going to say, like, it's not like he's taking 25 shots here. If he's taking 25 shots, I'm like, whatever, 10 goals.
Yeah.
He's 10 of 11.
Yeah.
Like, and
The other calculation Kark had done and he was sharing with that podcast is, so he's averaging about 5 goals a game right now, which is insane.
yeah,
But then, so if he keeps that average and makes it all the way to championship weekend, he'll end up with 84 goals in a season, which I think breaks Mile Thompson's record for most goals in a season at 82.
I think so. I have to double check that, but
I think that's what he was saying, if I got that correctly. But yeah, no. Anyways, we went off on a tangent. But
we're gonna this isn't a Cornell podcast. I just want to, for the
Yeah.
people just tuning in, this isn't a Cornell podcast. I hate Cornell. I hope the Big Red lose every game the rest of the year. Just phrase it that way. I hate their fans. I don't hate their players. That's how I'll say it.
love the Curse
But-
family. We've already said that before.
Yeah. Yeah. Besides them, we're good with them. They helped us out. Let's just say it that way. People will understand that. Aside from Duke, right? Because we've talked about it enough. Like, it's just a turnover game. There's not really a standout. The midfield steps up. The offense steps up. Now
Yeah.
you look ahead, and I'm going to butcher the name, so people can get on me. Nick Aquavino. I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
Aquaviva.
Aquaviva.
I think
See,
so.
there he goes. Matt's already corrected me. I just want to point that out.
We should have like a count in the corner every time I correct you.
I can do that. I can work on that. Number of times Matt has tech issues. Got it. Write that down for that one. But in all seriousness, like, he had an interview with Brian Higgins on Q Sports Talk. Matt, you and I have talked about it behind the scenes. We've talked about it here. If you need good lacrosse interviews, go there. I'll just tell you that as a lacrosse fan, because I love listening to Gary driving on a possible recruiting trip. Let's just phrase it that way for what we know. Because if he has to use a GPS to get home, he's spending way too much time at the office. Let's just be little shot at Gary, but it's not a shot. But like, Nick talked about the difference facing Petro, right? Like, we know Petro's system, it didn't really work out. We talked about it at nauseum. People talked about it at nauseum. And I wish I had a former coach that I could actually call for this. To be honest, I'm not calling Tim. Tim, I know if you're listening, I will not call you with this question. But the difference between facing Petro at Syracuse versus Petro at Carolina. And he spoke about the differences on what Petro is going to do, because everybody knows the language, right? A lot of those guys were still here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll go into the Notre Dame. First of all, I'm going to promo Matt's kid because I know he won't do it. I don't know if you want to expand on this. We talked about this, so I'll give you your chance to do this.
They released the Through X segment today with Joey, which shout out Kark and his team. They did a great job. At the 15-minute, 26-second mark, my son's in it. He handed Joey a card to get signed. So my son's famous. So go watch it so you can see my son make the video.
I'm sure Matt's son will also take sponsorships. I can speak for his dad when I say that. If you want to reach out to his son,
he's a 2035. So
yeah, he's a highly touted recruit. You know, I can tell you this. I've seen videos of him playing catch. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's right. He crushes it.
Yeah. Senior day, alumni day, the whole kickaboodle. You said it in one of your tweets. I think I retweeted it. I want over 10K. I generally do.
Yep. There's no reason why we shouldn't.
it's a Saturday. Like people beg for this. I beg for weekday games.
Well, and
People beg for Saturdays.
it's also a 5 o'clock game too. So like if you had like your kids' sports during the day, now you can go do that after. So
or if you got to work, I'll take a shot at myself with that.
Yep. Yeah, if you got to work.
Yeah. Some of us have weekend jobs. I'm just going to take a shot at Matt with that. He knows that, but
listen, sometimes I do Instacart on the weekends.
Okay.
Side hustle.
But like it generally works out for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Most people are out of work on a Saturday by that time, unless you're working at a store. I'm not going to dive into that because if you have that job, I feel bad for you when it games at 5 o'clock. I'll just say it that way.
Yep.
Most of your kids' sports are done. There's no reason why the place shouldn't be like it was against the Notre Dames.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
I would agree. And so I forget the stats that is it John Stark? Is that his name?
Yes.
The SID. So
SID. Yeah.
It was something like we right now have a cumulative attendance of like 47,000 something.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, we should get over 50,000 cumulative for the season, which is the first time since since 2011 that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we get over, I think he said 7,000, then our average will be a certain amount, which is the highest it's been since 2011 as well, and only the 5th time since 2000 that's happened. So,
right,
it's good. It's a sign that the program's doing better, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people want to criticize the program. Look at the attendance numbers. There's your answer. People are showing up. People have showed up since the Jacksonvilles.
Yep. Well, like it's cool too when you've got players who, and this isn't just Joey, but like we'll sit there and sign for the kids and like talk to them after the games, or like, and every player who my son has interacted with has been like, thank you for coming. We appreciate your support. Like, we'll see you next game. Like, they just like love having that support.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
I can tell you when I was a kid, I enjoyed it. So I can speak to that. I'm sure your son enjoys it as well because he's able to talk to every player and Joey, what's it like or whatever, just that little conversation. It also helps grow the game. Let's be fair here because maybe your son doesn't play lacrosse if he doesn't have that conversation with Joey.
Yeah.
Or important to note, there are the seniors that we're honoring. I did pull up that list just to be sure.
Yep.
And of course, my phone wanted to go black. Naturally. Nick Kakamo, Tyler Cordes, Greg Elijah Brown, Jack Fine, Kyle. I'm gonna butcher that last name.
Gunsrick.
Yeah. Yep. Finn Kelly, Paul LaMonica, Nate Levine, Carter Rice, John Rachusa, Barrett White, and Kyle Rowley.
Yep. Because Owen walked last year with the seniors.
Yep.
Did Sam too?
I think Sam did too, because I think Sam is technically a redshirt senior.
Yeah, because he had an injury 2 years ago at Princeton.
So it is important to note, and you just kind of said it. There are guys that are graduating that didn't walk last year, that walked last year. I should say it that way. Yep. And there are also guys I don't want to confirm any of this. I don't know anything. This is just, there are guys that are on this list who might be back next year. Let's just be fair in that. I don't know that
Burt
for sure. No.
Did he walk last year with the group?
He's a red shirt, I think. I believe as well. I want to say.
I mean, he's had multiple injuries. I feel bad for that kid.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, though. There's going to be a lot of alums. So we'll take it back to a more positive note because I don't want to talk the Burt Whistle injuries.
I hope Josh Kaufman's there again. He's my favorite from back in the day.
Who's the alum not named Josh Kaufman that you want to see? That's not a Powell. That's not a Gate.
Let's see. Liam Banks.
Jovan's there every week, so I can't include Jovan in that, to be fair.
Liam Banks.
I think
he comes more regularly because his daughter's on the women's team.
Yeah. I will just say, and now that you said that, I'm going to send a message to Liam Banks and try and get him on just to see if he'll
be cool.
He'll talk both sides because he's got that SU parent.
Yep. I had a tough loss on yesterday. I watched part of that.
The Fire Kalas are out. Liam Banks is a good one. I didn't even think you'd know that name. I'm gonna make fun of you saying that.
Here we
but
go.
It's not.
Here's another one. Chris Cersei.
No,
There's
boo, boo,
there's a random one for you.
boo every face-off guy that shows up. I'll say one. Don Madonna.
Nice Liverpool product.
Yeah, so it seems in my experience, I think every time all the local guys are typically there.
Mm-hmm.
Club 44 used to have a bunch of them there for halftime. They all show up, all that stuff. I don't know if they'll do anything special. I don't know if they're doing a season ticket celebration. I haven't seen anything. I don't know. Heard any rumors about that they've done it in the past.
I've literally never been a season ticket holder, so I couldn't tell you.
For all you bandwagon people, that's Matt. That is Matt right there. That's all I'm going to say. I am still a season ticket holder, Matt, and I've been to less games than you. Let's just say it that way. So for everybody that comes at me, I still own season tickets. So just want to point that out. Matt does not. Mark that down. Matt has a kid that can go to every game, and he's not a season ticket holder. I do understand it, but I also no free promos, obviously, but I would encourage a lot of people to get season tickets because they're reasonably priced. Yeah, they're reasonably priced. You get a parking pass if you really want it.
Yep.
If you're somebody that doesn't want to walk,
that adds up too because parking is $20 every time. So
yeah, I think it's. So I want to say I'm going to butcher this. My dad will probably correct me if he hears this. I think it's 110, 120, right around that for the season.
Yeah.
I believe it's one other 20 for the parking pass.
Another what for the parking pass? 120?
20. Yeah.
Oh, 20? Oh, Dad.
20 for the year though. 20 for the year. So like you're set. Like
that's one game. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've
essentially paid for season tickets with my parking.
See, look at if anybody wants to go fund me for Matt for season tickets, I'm not saying it, but if you want to start it, he will take it. I'm sure. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'll put a sad picture of my son on it.
Yeah. Make all jokes about it. Let's get back to the brass tacks though, because this is a Thursday. We both know we both have to work tomorrow, so I'm not going to act like you have the day off, anything like that. Yep. Let's get to the Carolina stuff.
Yeah.
Petro's kid. We'll see
the two-headed monster of him and Duffy.
So there's your numbers right there. Now, we joke about Burt Whistle earlier. Petro's kid is I'll say it this way for Syracuse, a more talented Burt Whistle, a guy who doesn't know how to pass the ball. And I know it's kind of a joke. I know Burt Whistle has better passing. You know what I mean? Like just the numbers. His numbers didn't really reflect that. But look at that stat line: 37-2.
Yep, he's a shooter for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to say
he's the guy that gets to open seams and just rips it.
Yeah, and obviously Duffy, and then they get a Sammy English. We get the last English.
Ty, yep.
Yep. James Matan, I think somebody's going to correct.
So that's where we got to like. Obviously, the focus is going to be those first two, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if I'm a guessing man, I would say that Figueres is going to be on Duffy.
Yeah.
And then either Dwan or Grace will be on Petro. I don't know who. But then it's the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 that we got. Okay, who we can't have one of those guys bust off for 5 goals again. Like,
well, and I think the one to look at though is if you're looking at it, we're looking at it on the screen for the people watching this.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Wertheim.
Yeah, because he's the assist guy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that's the assist guy. So that's
I think he's their third attack.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
This is how much I don't know. I'm just going to defer to you on that. That's why
he's not. He's a midi. I'm looking at it on Inside Lacrosse too.
I was going to say that's why I'm the host and you're the analyst. I just want to point that out for people. Matt is the analyst, but that's the guy that I look at, and even just looking at the points, right? So I can tell you, even if you haven't watched the Carolina game all year, that's the guy that you want to shut down, and that's the guy that you don't want to end up with 7 points because he has 2 goals or something. Now, he's not going to score 2, right? But, like, the realistic thing is he has 5 points. He has 2 goals, 3 assists. You're losing that game because then you have to factor in everybody else. And we do it all the time with the Syracuse team. Who else is going to step up besides Joey? Besides the Owens? Besides,
Well, and the thing that is crazy to me about all these stats is look at the shots.
Yep. I was going to say I'm going to scroll over to that.
Those two
I
have
just
each
want to,
taken over 100 shots each.
yeah.
That's
And look, and I just want to point out, look at the shot percentage too. Just look at
Yeah.
that, just for people that want to hate on Syracuse.
Yeah.
29% for Owen. And that now comparatively, that doesn't look terrible. That's the crazy part about that, because you look at all the people that besides the CJ Curse who we talked about. I'm sure the Carolina fans will say, "Oh, Syracuse shot percentage isn't that great." We know that. I can admit that. Like,
Yeah.
I need Cam's second screen because this would help a lot looking up, because I could pull up the Syracuse, but I think
I got
it's
Syracuse up.
all right. What's the top Syracuse shooter and what's their percentage? How about that?
So Joey has 29 goals on 82 shots and is 35%.
Right.
And then Hilt has 32 goals on 98 shots and is 33%.
Okay. So compare it, like,
Our best is Finn, but he's been out.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but I mean,
was gonna
before
say,
he started though, he was about 50%. He was shooting really well.
I'm gonna say I do just want to be fair with this. Ryan Levy is shooting 54%, but you look at how many goals he has, right?
Yeah.
12 goals. That's your
Yep.
Finn right there. Like
Yeah.
I
Like
hate to say,
so our midfield is Leo 29%, Roa 25%, English 23%. So
there you go. That's the difference though, right there.
yeah.
Like and the crazy part is, so obviously we're looking at the stats, right? You look at Owen, 103 shots. Look at how many are in goal. Just for the record, 62.
Yeah.
Like Dom, obviously. But as you get to this lower number, and I'm gonna scroll it back on my end because, like I said, I haven't zoomed in. James Matan, go ahead and look at that, Matt. He has 22 points, 42 shots, but look at that, like 27 on goal. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about. It's guys like that.
Yeah.
You know Dom's gonna take,
They're each going to take
let's
15
say,
shots.
15 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just that's actually you and I swear that wasn't planned. That's the number I have in my head. I'm gonna get rid of this because I hate looking at that when it's bothering me when I gotta scroll over that. But like you look at somebody like that and you're like, okay, he's gonna get 15. It's like everybody says about the Syracuse. Joey's gonna get his shots. How can we limit everybody else around Joey and make Joey beat us?
Yep. That's what every team's trying to do with it, you know.
I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna stop share that for a second. There. I want to pull up their goalie numbers. That's the other thing I wanted to, just so I have that. And naturally my screen doesn't want to work. That is weird. Okay. So save percentage 52 for Michael Gianfacaro.
He's the Princeton transfer.
Yep.
And then, so one of the things that's going to be kind of the biggest storyline of this game is the face-off X.
Yep.
Because Wambach
you're going to make me pull up another
I got
stat. You got it?
He's facing off at 65%. He's one of the best in the country. And he's only like a sophomore, I think.
This is going to be another one of those games, though, where you're going to really see the Syracuse depth. Because I think you learn that, I'll say this nicely as I can, the refs have been a lot more harsh on the face-off violations. That's the way that I'll phrase it. And they've been calling a lot more than they did last year. We'll just say it that way, just for so like, and we've talked about it before. It obviously tests the depth of a Syracuse, where Johnny Mullen takes 99% of the face-offs, which is great.
Yeah.
Except in this situation.
Yep.
So face-offs, I think Johnny probably goes 50%, which is a win, in my opinion.
That's the goal.
And then we talk about Jimmy. We all know Jimmy's numbers. We've talked about it nauseum all year. Which Jimmy shows up?
Yep.
Is it the Jimmy that can control rebounds? Or is it the Jimmy that showed up against Harvard? That's the way that I'll phrase it. Just for So, like I said, we're gonna make this one a little. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was looking at the face-off stats. So he only has 2 games that are under 50%. Hopkins and High Point. Duke, he was at 53%. Notre Dame, he was at 60%. Virginia, 67. Jacksonville, 69. I'm just looking at similar same opponents.
No, I'm gonna put their schedule.
That's what when Aqua Viva was interviewed from Sports Talk, he talked about like it's gonna come down to goalies and face-offs.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think Aqua Viva coaches both.
Yes, he does.
Clarify that for people. So
he's
gonna know, he knows what he's talking about with that.
Yep.
So
he made a joke about it when he said it.
Yeah. You look at similar opponents, you look at the Hopkins game, right? You just talked about it, their stats. I'm just talking general numbers here. They beat Hopkins by 1.
Yep.
And then they beat Jacksonville by 13. There's your they beat UVA by 9. So like they beat Duke by 1.
And then they lost to Notre Dame by 6.
They lose to Notre Dame by 6. And so if you read me the schedule up until that, right? I'd be like, okay, Carolina's probably going to win. They've beaten these Syracuse opponents. They beat Hopkins by 1, but that was earlier, right? So we just talked about it with Syracuse. It's the same thing.
Yep.
If I had looked at the schedule on a blank slate and just said these are the common opponents, I'd probably give the edge to Carolina until you look at the Notre Dame game. And this is Notre Dame towards the end of the year. This isn't Notre Dame at the beginning of the year. Obviously, Syracuse doesn't play them at the beginning of the year. I know that.
Yeah.
But that's the loss that I go off of.
Well, and so the interesting thing is both teams are kind of in a similar situation right now, right?
Right.
Probably both teams having their worst loss of the season. We have comparable records, right? Like, so their worst loss of the season.
Right.
They're limited to 6 goals. We're limited to 7 goals. They had a good amount of turnovers that game. Like Sean Light had Owen Duffy in handcuffs the whole game.
Yep.
I remember I even someone posted about it and I commented like he needs to take a page out of Joey's book and play off ball so he can get himself open because Owen Duffy's someone who's going to want to go at you and dodge you every time. That's what he does.
Right.
And with a defender like a Sean Light, it's not going to work. So it'll be interesting to see how both these teams respond to the fact that they're kind of both in a similar situation. I mean, I think North Carolina stays where they're at, regardless of how this game plays out.
I think this says more for Syracuse. Obviously, we kind of joked about it.
So
they're playing to host. Let's just be fair in this.
And
the host.
Gary even said in the car interview that they're dialed in, which is good to hear.
And so I think you said it. You're going to correct me on this. They had the media availability, which dropped today, I think, right?
Yes,
dropped today.
Just a while ago.
And somebody asked about Duke, and if I've ever heard a Belichick quote, this was this one. We're on to Carolina. I don't want to talk about Duke. I'm sick of trying to cleanse the guys. We've heard the interviews all year about this. Forget about it. Joey heard about it going into Notre Dame. What are your thoughts on Notre Dame? Nope, I'm just trying to beat Tuesday. I'm just trying to beat Wednesday.
Yep.
And to hear that and to see it are two amazing things.
Yep.
Because I could say that. Hey, man, I'm just trying to beat Friday. I'll be honest. I'm looking forward to Saturday before I even think about Friday. That's just for me.
Yep.
And it's nice to see it from the coaching staff. Because a lot of times you see it from the players, but you see Gary I don't even want to call Gary out. Let's just say Coach A. I'll say Coach Tim because Tim will hear this, and I know Tim thinks it's a shot at him, but it's not. Right? Tim's going to think 10 games ahead, whether he wants to admit it or not.
Yeah.
But to hear somebody say it in public, we're only thinking about this game is awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's do some predictions here. I want attendance first because we're gonna change. I want to kind of do attendance first. Just a rough. We'll do it in the thousands. You don't have to give unless you want to go an insanely obscure number. And if you get it right, you know what? You get a free sponsorship to TLN. There, I got it. I'm not going to do it for anybody else. I'm just doing it for Matt. I just want to point that out.
I want us to get over 10.
Okay.
I don't know if we will, so I'll say 9,000.
So I'm gonna say 11. I'm gonna go on the higher end.
Okay.
Because the 5 o'clock, there's no Metallica concert. There's no anything like that where everybody else can go.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was at the Dome.
It's supposed to rain too, which helps.
Yep.
Because then there's no like outdoor activities to go to instead.
Right.
Like, yeah.
I'm gonna say 11 as a hopeful number. That's how I'll phrase it. I think it's between 10 and 11. If it gets over 11, I said it before for Notre Dame. Bravo. Like everybody, like.
Yep.
I just don't know. Like I hate this. We're gonna see how the Syracuse fan base truly feels, right? Because if there's nine, it's horrible to say if there's only 9.
We're spoiled.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like
some teams have to get 300 people there.
If it's below 9, that's the way that I'll phrase this.
Yeah.
You'll find out how the fan base truly feels. Let's just phrase it that way.
There's a lot on the line for this game. It's senior day. It's alumni day. Like there's a lot else going on there too. So it's like
also a bunch of alumni parents who will be at the game. And I'll just phrase it that way. There's rumors around the groups that you and I are in that a lot of the alumni of former players, let's just be fair here. These aren't current players.
Yep.
Parents of alumni are going to go there. And everybody's going to be there. So that's, we heard the rumblings from the Notre Dame game. You and I kind of talked about it behind the scenes. I haven't heard anything about ticket sales. I don't know anything. If I did, I don't want to burn my sources. That's how I'll phrase
well, and this game was part of that package they sold, right? Like, right. So, and they sold a lot of those packages. So
yeah. The number isn't specific, or the number. I'll just say I don't want to phrase the number. That's how I'll say it. We have a rough. You and I have a rough number, but not going to share the sources that Matt has inside the Syracuse lacrosse team. He talks to Gary every week. I
got connections Gary. I got connections all over that campus because I used to work there. So,
I just want to say he said that, not me. I think 10 to 11, that's the realistic number that I'm at. I don't know. I think more towards the 11. That's how I'll say it.
I'd be very happy with that.
Score predictions, same as always. We're going to be way off, but let's see how bad we do.
Oh man,
I'll go first for this one because I'll give you a little time. In the words of Beardsley, I'll give you the time to be the rebuttal guy. So it's gonna be a shootout. Like I think they're gonna want to run. We're gonna want to run. I think I'm at the same number that I was at for Duke, though. I think I'm at a 4-goal Syracuse win.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say 16-12. That's what I'll say.
I was gonna say 15-12.
I swear, once again, Matt can check his messages. I did not say anything about this. Matt knows this. But that's twice. We need the counter for number of times we agree, number of times we disagree. But we're gonna see where this team truly is. We've been joking about it, kind of half-heartedly saying it all year. After 2 losses, you come back home. You get your legs under you. You get everybody in the media talking about this game. You and I know this. Like even even basketball guys are talking about this game, which says something to me. Like
Yep.
there are sports radio hosts who I will not name who never talk lacrosse that are talking about this game.
Nice. What's
Matt,
the phrase? It's time to
think
nut up or shut up.
Yeah, I think you can figure out who I'm talking about, given the brand that we always support. Let's just phrase it that way.
Yeah.
I'll just say a certain midday show. That's how I'll say it. Who focuses more on football than lacrosse, even during lacrosse season. But to be fair to them, they do have lacrosse people on during lacrosse season, so I can't really even. I'll just say, Stephen Fani, if you ever get this, I will gladly have you on in 2 seconds to talk it from the News Channel 9 perspective. Paulie, don't want to talk to you. That's your answer. That's. I kid, of course. Tim Leonard, who I had on as a guest of theirs every time. Love hearing from Tim. I'm curious to see. Excuse me. I choked on that one. As I said, I'm curious to see how Tim's going to call the game. That's good. Because let's be fair, it's going to be an emotional game.
Yep.
Emotional highs, emotional lows. Before I talk for another hour about all that, we're going to end it there because I'm good unless you got any other promos for your kid, any other videos it appears in.
You want me to get my cards out?
Oh, no, hold on. I want you to talk about this because this is a legit thing. Talk about the poster because you can speak on that. What we were talking about before with your kid, and just so people can understand how big of a fan your family is. That's how I'll say it.
So we got one of the team posters, and so we've been working through every game. I made a list because I'm a giant dork. I made a list of every player with their numbers, and like we've been checking off as they go, as we get them signed. I think we got like 20 players left. So, people know from all my talking that my family's developed a little bit of a connection with Joey, and so we're going to give him the poster at the end of the game.
Yeah,
we're going to get the rest of it signed by whoever's left over in the locker room, hopefully, and then get it from him after the game. So,
are you going to? Here's my final question for this, though. Are you going to chase down any player who doesn't sign it into the parking lot and chase them down and say, "Here's
you didn't sign the poster"?
In all seriousness,
like in Happy Gilmore, where he steals the jacket and everybody chases him.
In all seriousness, that's an amazing thing, and I encourage people to do that every year if they can.
Players are happy to do that kind of stuff for kids. They love it.
And I'll just say it this way: shout out to the tailgate because some of those players, depending on how the game goes,
and the
will
weather,
be there. And you get to meet your heroes. You get to meet the Joeys. You get to meet the Owens.
Yep.
I'll just leave it there.
One of these times, I'll walk into my Syracuse room and I'll show all my memorabilia and stuff off too.
I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Nobody wants to see that.
We'll show the fans.
Well, nobody wants to see that.
Our 12 viewers,
don't mock the 12 viewers.
We love them.
Hey, it's a consistent 12 is what I'm going to say. You know what?
Start somewhere.
You know what? I'm going to call it this way. It's an omen. Carter Rice. There
you go.
We can do this one-up game all day, Matt. But before it goes for another 25 minutes, Matt's going to show me his cards as soon as we get off the air. I know this. We'll end it there with a Go SU. And
Go Orange.
Like I've told you before, we'll end it. Of course, my brain says this after we say the Go Orange. I'm going to reach out to the people on the Facebook page, and I'm going to reach out about the fan forum thing because I still do want to try and get, I'll say the anonymous people that call out the team. We're going to see if we can bring them out from the shadows and see if we can have a legit conversation with them. I'll just phrase it that way. Not just to slander people.
Yeah.
The season ticket holders. We're going to see if we can get that. And also, we're still efforting Cam to do the talk about his YouTube series.
Yeah.
But Cam's schedule is horrible. He doesn't like Matt or I. He doesn't respond to either of us. So I know he'll hear this as well. And Cam, we will talk to you in all seriousness.
The history one will be a good off-season podcast.
Yes. I just want to be clear with that. We're not going to do it during the year.
Yep.
We're going to do it like a filler, probably do a couple of recruiting things. I have my recruiting expert, Matt, on the screen right now, who knows everything about recruiting. I'm just going to phrase it that way. He has contacts in the PLL if anybody wants to know. So he's a coach. Don't do this. He's a coach. Don't do this because you know this. You know who I'm talking about. So yeah. So we're gonna end it there, though. I know we did our Go Orange before. Now I'm gonna officially say my Go Orange. So go Orange.
Orange.